G'day watchers, welcome to Perth Watch, your horology channel broadcasting from right here in Perth, Western Australia. Today I have the newest piece from Nove Watches. Nove, I reviewed one of their pieces which was apparently the world's thinnest dive watch at the time. Check out that review, which this one is not a thin dive watch but is their kind of latest innovation, I suppose you can call it. Comes in this, I don't know what you call this, PU, I suppose, polyurethane or something. It is quite smooth, and I want to say it really should spin quite well, but because it's a bit off balance, it tends to wobble. It probably should achieve a 4 out of 5 if I get it, balanced properly in here. Okay, so unzips, manual there. I'm not going to go into it because it's just a fairly basic thing. And then I put the spare links in there, and what else is in there? Oh yeah, just desiccants and whatnot. Okay, so the spare links go down the bottom, and that's the packaging I'm gonna shove aside there. And let's just open this up and show you guys this particular piece in closer details. So look at all that detail there. So this is the Nove Atlantean 1001 or I001, and this is the -02 colorway. It does come also in a black version. I don't know whether it's DLC or just PVD, but you can check out the website for more details if you wish. This is on retail $880 USD, so pretty full-on pricing. You can use a discount code I put in the description here to get, at the moment, 12% off at nove.com. I suspect that intermittently they may also provide other discounts, but currently they have a discount code for me at 12% off, so feel free to use that if you are going to look at this piece or any of the other pieces. So first up, as I always do, guys, let's talk about movement. So in here is something I haven't seen before. So it's actually the Swiss Ronda R150. This is not an ETA 2824 clone. I think it can be a drop-in replacement because the dimensions are very, very similar, almost identical, but definitely the gearing, the details of the screws and the construction is different to the 2824. So it is not a clone, but specs wise, very, very similar. You can see down the left-hand side of the screen here. It does have a quick set date, this one in the typical 3 o'clock position here. Nothing too unusual about that. It hacks, it mount and winds exactly like the ETA. Rated accuracy on this particular movement stated to be, better than typical ETA. I think plus or minus 12 seconds per day, and in actual use, definitely well within that, about 5 or 6 seconds per day fast in about the 10 days I've had this running. Okay, enough about movement. Let's talk about casing here, which also is, of interest, right? So this is a 50.5mm case. So if I'm going to take, I guess, purely the case, let's say between this index finger and my thumb here, right? So between these two spots here, it is actually 50.5. That's what they stipulated. If you take the bezel only, it's 47.5mm. Just as a reference, that's the sizing you're looking at here. Thickness, this is a very chunky case, but if you just purely look at thickness there, it's 14mm, which is not too bad for a massive diver for this size, Like, for example, 42mm Omega Seamaster 2012 version is about 13mm. So this is not too bad at all. The lugs, I guess, there's no meaningful lug here because these are kind of more proprietary, but they do come with some lug adapters. Actually, I forget to show you in the case here. They do come with some lug adapters for example, NATO straps if you want to put it on, and those are 24mm kind of lug width for 24mm NATOs. If you don't like a bracelet and you want this on the NATO, there is that option they provided in the box there. Lug to lug distance. So if I were to take between my thumbnails there, that's actually 56mm. So again, for a watch this size, it is actually quite large, but because of the way it turns down, it doesn't sit too badly on the wrist at all. It sits a lot better than you expect a 50mm steel watch to sit. The weight, of course, it's not unexpectedly, it is actually very substantial. This is a 228 gram watch with a few links I've taken out 228 grams, one of the heaviest watches I've reviewed. Certainly very substantial. You're not going to forget this on the wrist at all. Finishing wise, okay, so it's got long brushing at the top surfaces. So for example, there, right, just around the bezel there, long brushing. It's got vertical brushing on the sides. You can see there, fairly clearly. I think that this bit here where my thumbs are touching, and then it's got also long brushing, longitudinal brushing at the bottom surface of the case here. So ignore the case back, the bottom surface, long brushing. Now it does have a polished finish on the bezel, right? The bezel has I guess you want to call this a fluted, kind of fluted type of edge here, but it is all polished. It has a polish bevel. Okay, so hopefully you can see that bevel there is polished there. And I will mention that lever, which we'll go into a little bit later, that lever has a brush finish. Okay, and then going down to the bottom here, it's got polished bits on that case back there. It's got a fluting on the side there, and it's also got a matte blasting finish on the case there, especially where the case back, I should say, where the words are printed. So I think there's some interesting finishing here. I think the details, all the little interplay, different surfaces, that does help break up that case back there, because that movement, of course, only takes up the center of the display. So that is very much a very large screw down display case back, a screw down. I think it's laser etching there with the N symbol, and it's got knurling on the grip there, which is pretty nice. So screw down crown, of course, with a very big diver like this. This is a 300-meter water resistant rated watch here. Okay, now going into the dial now. So this dial here, of course, is one of the points of interest of this watch here. This is a mother of pearl dial. So every watch will be unique. There is no, it's an organic material. It's got an embossed logo at the 12 o'clock position, and then it's got printed details, automatic, Swiss made, the water resistant rating and whatnot on the dial itself. And then it's got that floating chaptering, right? The partial chaptering, I guess you can call that. It's only got the minute markings in the first 20 minutes, and then it's got kind of 5-minute divisions for the rest of the way. Really quite an interesting, really quite an interesting innovation they've kind of come up with here. In terms of numerals, really, they've got the minutes of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. That's really the numerals they've put on this rotating floating chapter ring, which is really the I guess the rotating dive bezel, if you want to call it. The actual hour markings are actually on the bezel insert itself. So just going to come away from the dial shot here to show you how this works now. So you pull out this lever, okay, to that position, and then there we are. If you want to feel the clicks, it is 120 click, so that's how it rotates there, and that's really quite interesting gimmick here, and I'll try to put up a video of how the internal mechanism in here works. They do have one on the website. I'm not sure if I can rip it, but if I can, I'll put it here for you guys to see. Okay, just going to roughly get it back to 60 minutes up the top there, and talk about the rest of the dial here. So in terms of the hands here, it's got broad polish paddle style hands here. It's got super luminova C3 in all positions, all three hands. The full chapter ring is glowing, as well as the the bezel spots there. I'll lume shot right here for you guys to see how it glows, and it definitely glows very well. This watch has no problem glowing through the night for me. Okay, moving on then. So we've talked about the bidirectional internal rotating chapter ring / bezel here, the unique lever release control mechanism, right? And on top of the dial is got what is a flat dome sapphire. Okay, that's really all that is. And it's got, of course, you've seen this already, the Cyclops magnifier. I think it actually does achieve a full 2.5 times magnification, as it's supposed to. It's not anything less than that. That's what they've done for this typical Rolex copy Cyclops here. Okay, so the bezel insert, I've talked about it, but they haven't mentioned on the website whether it's ceramic. Presumably it is ceramic. It does look and feel like that, but I haven't found any other way to confirm. And if you know, let me know in the comments below. Moving on to the bracelet, right? So this is alternating brush and polish. It's kind of an H style, but not really an H style. It's kind of a broad H, I suppose. It's got screw head decorations, right? But annoyingly, the screw heads kind of stop in the removable links here, which is feels like a bit of a cop out. Feels like a bit of a cost cut here. So that's a bit unfortunate. I'm not sure why they chose to do that. Solid end links, of course, that you can see there. Not screw links, but push pin inserts. Okay. Right, push pins for the adjustment here. And in terms of sizing, it tapers from about 28 millimeters near the case to 24 millimeters in the narrowest position. The clasp measures 28 millimeters wide. It is kind of a, really more of a pressed metal clasp. It does have this 6-point, I guess on the push button glide mechanism, not quite a glide lock, but it does have that for quick adjustment on the fly. Unfortunately, the release is not push button. It's just a friction release, but it does have a solid keeper there. Okay, that's the bracelet here. So guys, that's the entire description really. Just slap it on the wrist now for a quick wrist shot for you guys. And there we have it, guys. The Nove Atlantean diver, right? This is a massive watch. My wrist is 17 centimeters, and this is no doubt it is massive. It is probably a little bit too big, but as I say, because the lugs turn down pretty well, it doesn't actually sit too badly, even on a wrist that is not particularly large like mine. All right, remember, 50.5 millimeters, 14 millimeters thick. That's really the dimensions you're looking at there. And that's how that bracelet slits on my wrist. Okay, so guys, that's the description and the wrist shot. What are the pros and cons? What have I enjoyed about this watch? Well, look, I reckon, this is definitely different, right? It has a unique, features to this. It's got a very interesting gimmick with this lever and the floating, chapter ring here. So that's a great talking point. Everyone I've shown this to, they find it interesting to kind of play around with this and just see how this works. It is solidly built, no question about it. It's solidly built. It is Swiss made, in terms of the entire packaging here. It's got most of the right specs, right? Ceramic, presumably, sapphire, 300 millimeters. It's got smooth actuation of this lever. Everything feels pretty good in terms of the fit and finish. No qualms about that. The case back details, as I've mentioned there, pretty well done. And I think that case back manages to overbalance, kind of balance this oversized watch with a movement that really can fit in a much smaller watch. Somehow they've managed to achieve that with the details around the case there. Otherwise it would look too small, that movement, I reckon. And I think really it does achieve that very difficult to achieve micro brand grail, which is original design, right? It does have original design, and I know nothing to take away from Nove with this, despite any qualms you might have about this watch. I have to hand it to them. That lever bezel, those cage, rivets on the side, like on this side here, right? That's pretty cool as well. Nove on the side there, and this bracelet as well is different, right? Very different, and certainly a lot of originality here. What are the weaknesses? Well, there are some, of course. It is very bulky. It is very heavy. One of the heaviest I've seen. And honestly, it feels like there isn't really a need for this to be so big. Maybe it's needed because of the mechanism under here that actuates this. But if they could have made this smaller, made this a bit narrower, a little bit more slim, I think it would go, easier in terms of sales. Right now it is a massive watch, and it is not suitable for everyone, definitely not suitable for every occasion. It feels like, as I mentioned, the budget ran out somewhere down here. Push pins, no screw decoration in the removable links, pressed metal clasps here without a button release. It feels like they ran out of budget, to be honest. And a lot of watches, unfortunately, do that. It kind of comes down here and it feels cheaper. It feels almost like a Chinese OEM class. like just an OEM off-the-shelf clasp here. Probably isn't, but that's what it feels like in hand here. And it does got some polarizing features, right? You know, that mother of pearl dial, right? Yes, it's interesting, but it's not for everyone. Not everyone would like a watch like this. Some people, you know, love it. Some people like meteorite, others don't. You know, similar type of polarization. Let me know what you think about dials like this. You know, Cyclops, similarly, I don't like Cyclops particularly. Some people absolutely hate it. Some people don't mind it. But again, something that's slightly polarizing. And of course, the massive size is not going to be suitable for everyone. And on top of all this, of course, you got that MSRP, right? 880. I think it feels like it's pushing it a bit. Look, you got to pay them for original design. It is Swiss made, so you got to pay them for that. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much this is going to successfully move at the full MSRP. Let me know what you think. I suspect probably it needs to come down a bit, you know, on the occasional sale to move a lot of units. So there you go, guys. One of my longer reviews for a while, but I think it's reasonably deserved. Let me know what you think. Look forward to the discussion that follows. And guys, thank you again for sticking with me. I'll see you next time.